Well met, lords and ladies, Jacob Bowder speaking, and a warm welcome to this week's Walking Wednesday. And I had this week planned, almost. I thought that by now my brother and I would have gone to watch the Super Mario Brothers movie in theatres if I convinced him to not use the streaming software for once in his life. But that was, of course, before I got sick. So there is that. I've just realised this path has been freshly trimmed, so I think that means that there's probably going to be some pollen that's been lifted, so I'm going to get out of here as quickly as possible, because one of the issues that I've had is a blocked nose, which is the cause for my sore throat, because I'm breathing through my mouth for a week. So yeah, not fun. Sorry, excuse me for a second. Okay, we're back. Apologies, I had a thread that was bothering me. Okie dokie. There we are. Out in the open, but also not the too open. The nice middle ground that's going to last for a very short while, I must say. But who knows? I don't want to jinx it by saying I want to do a short Walking Wednesday, but I kind of do. Also because, like I mentioned, there isn't too much to report on. We did in fact get a new editor on the Mutant Girl team. We're still taking new editors, by the way. We don't have to limit ourselves to just one person, but yeah, that's what's been happening. So we've assigned that person a Season 3 scene, which I realise I still have to actually get some of the assets for, because there was a request about backgrounds and things like that. It's a new scene, so I need to source them all, because that's another thing that kind of happened this week, where Ghosty actually suffered a work-related injury, and I'm not sure if she wants me to give like the details or something, but yeah, when I asked about backgrounds, I was like, oh wait, okay, that happened? Yeah, no, never mind. Forget I mentioned anything. You recover. And she is recovering, by the way. It's not like... I'm pretty sure it's not going to be life-altering or anything. I mean, obviously, it's altered a few things right now, but I mean permanently. I don't know what I am saying anymore. Clearly, I am rambling and winging this, as per usual. But yeah, I would normally blame that on my brain not working at 100% capacity, as was the case for the past week. But yeah, surprisingly, you know, the later in the day, yesterday, I kind of just got like most of my creative energy back. It's like, hey, you know, I probably should continue to rest, which is why I'm not at Crawley right now. But let's just indulge in the fact that clearly my inspiration for actually completing a song that I had a request for before I went on holiday, and an actual and like some other actual projects that people have inspired to do in the meantime, I actually have a bit of drive to sort those out. Not gonna lie, that is pretty refreshing. Oh, and it's the open road, so I'm going to turn and go back round again. So yeah, who knows? It seems to be like a weird trend for some reason that every time that I get a song commission, not even just for Ghosty, but for someone else as well, I think I have two of them, that I just end up getting sick before I complete the project. The same thing happened with that stage song I was going to do with Beanie Boy. That by the time that I actually got round to sending in my takes and everything, that was the time that actual classes started at university, and then that was the whole year in which Siren Story took place. So, yeah. It very much was a return to the stage after all. So, I have no idea. I think I probably still have those rap verses or something at that point, so yeah, Beanie Boy, if you're watching this, I can send those over. Actually, again, need to probably process a few of those bits myself. I don't know anymore. I no longer have access to the other site, to the studio, so I can't do re-records in the same quality. That's another thing. I have a bunch of remakes that I recorded of songs that I was able to store for some time, including Taming the Bad Boy, because that theme song, I did a remastered edition for that, for the last, that compilation. So that's part of the original content that was in that, apart from the Meme-A-Line wedding that was never a thing. And that neither of them wanted to record all this time later. So, yeah. Speaking of Taming the Bad Boy, that was something that happened. Shorty's birthday was yesterday. And while we may or may not have had the real Shorty and acquired her for that particular video, what ended up actually probably happening is I went back to the road again. No, yeah, so what actually ended up happening was that I had this whole thing planned. Hey, let's celebrate Shorty's legacy in some way. One part of me was like, hey, should I review Nightfall? But I was like, you know what? That's probably too cruel. That's the content that Shorty is currently proud of. And I was like, you know what, on your birthday, I'm not going to tear you down too much, especially considering that that's like, you know, the main thing that people know you for at the moment. So let's go back into your deep past, because every time someone gets older, you're reminded of the stuff they did when they were younger, and that's just the way of life. So that was the plan, at least. And then a bunch of people showed up to be either exposed to more references to Taming the Bad Boy, or to the show for the first time. I do mean that literally, because one of the episodes just copied, just took the video, slapped on a very lazy trip sequence at the beginning, and I mean a literal trip sequence, like a character gets tripped, that's it. And then the rest of the video is it is just the original video, like re-uploaded. It's the most blatant YouTube don't flag this for duplicate upload attempt I have ever seen. And there are now 3 comments on that video pointing out how much of it was plagiarism. So I wonder if that account, which only has one other video on it, is going to see that a video from 4 years ago has suddenly been like, oh wait a minute, let's address this. So yeah, speaking of reminding the people of the cringy stuff they did when they were younger, that right there is a prime example. So yeah, you never know. But that was probably the most. Actually, wait a minute. No, there's other things that we did, because I tried to come back and, you know, get back into the swing of things and go back to the normal that I had. So even while I was sick, I did a few streams. Most of which consisted of MLP and disco pops, and then also regular disco pops and jazz pops. So again, a return to the pop-centric days, which haven't been a case for some time. But yeah, that was a thing. I probably it was interesting because Johnny had been talking about making a reboot of the disco pops for some time, and while I was finally able to see okay, this is a version with the Disco Pops where they introduce the fact that they're descended from these certain characters, well, the fandoms immediately. Where is this all stemming from now? And we got to see the origins. For context, there's a few characters who are descended from certain Miraculous Ladybug characters. Much to the dismay of KW and other peers. And that was interesting how that went down, essentially. And yeah, I'm not entirely up to date about all that stuff myself, because I've dabbled in Johnny's newer content and Disco Pops related, but then I said, nope, let's go back and watch the first ones. So sort of a combination. I do the recent stuff of his and then also the older ones. And yeah, again, it's an interesting way of comparing someone's evolution, considering how many videos Johnny actually has that are able to provide that. I do wonder, because both those two things, the Taming the Bad Boy stuff and the MLP Disco Pop stuff, they kind of have a similar theme to it. And that is, of course, not just evolution, but a kind of self-esteem. Because the reason that those things are being remade is because suddenly they're being subjected to criticism by me. Obviously, I subjected Taming the Bad Boy criticism as well. Although by that point, actually, even though it had only been the series had just concluded its runtime, by that point, Shorty already seemed to be lamenting the events in question. And I do wonder about that, actually, because Taming the Bad Boy started in February, I reviewed it in June, and I don't think it went much longer. The video came out in July, but I reviewed it in June. So yeah, it does, I do wonder, because when exactly did the shift happen? Back in the day, it seemed like every Gacha tuber was regretting the videos they made like a 1 month ago, rather than a full year or such and such. Now we're getting to see that there's people who have gone back to their old stuff, or I'm going back to their old stuff more accurately, and either they're continuing it, like Johnny or Prism of Voices, or they are after ashamed of it and glad that YouTube buried it, like Shorty. Doesn't me wonder, like, when did the shift actually occur? Was it during the time of the original uploads? Because those videos were, Shorty admitted they were rushed because she feared that people would actually drop off from the channel if they didn't come out like immediately. Which, I mean, admittedly, of course, is a risk if you don't get immediate catharsis, I guess. But at the same time, nowadays with the music freaks and Unbounded and you know, Idolize and whatever, you name it, there's a lot more options to say, okay, well let's go ahead and actually wait, and the community will still be around for that. And I guess you could say the Mutant Girl, Fallen Angels, all that stuff is, in its own microscopic version of that, does have that consistency of the community. All that fun and jazz. Even Puppy Love, weirdly, because we were talking about Puppy Love on a stream at one point. Because yeah, that was that series. People watching this Walking Wednesday might not even know that it exists. Puppy Love is a 2-episode long series at the moment. It's got 8 in total, but only 2 have been released. That I started actually as my own personal response to Taming the Bad Boy, fittingly enough. So yeah, the idea was that because I was already doing those reviews, I was talking about like how I would do a gay love story if I were if I were presented with that chance, I'd just get myself the chance. And then I teamed up with Shorty at the time to, you know, use her community to gather, you know, hype for it, gather people who would audition and stuff, which turned out to be like an amazing idea because actually that was where people like Nova came from, Apex, Miss Devil. Miss Devil might not be as relevant a name to people right now, but trust me, that's important. So yeah, and probably a few more people I'm forgetting right now. But yes, there were absolutely a myriad of people who I met through that one audition process. There were 80 total auditions from the same people sometimes, because some people went for multiple parts. But yeah, it took a while to sift through all of those. It was just as well that the main character was already actually taken by Shorty. It's like, you know what? If you're going to make a gay love story, I want to star in that gay love story. I was like, well, you know what? Okay. We'll put you in the spotlight again. You deserve it after, you know, the boost and everything. And then, of course, because of several things behind the scenes, the episodes which are planned to all release during Pride Month end up being delayed. I, in fact, was supposed to just do the script, and Shorty was in charge of the visuals. This was the first time that I could be ambitious with visuals because I would be able to. I knew that Shorty at the time was better than me at gacha visuals and had more expertise with more complex stuff. All of which I can probably do now, but yeah, then Shorty came back at one point and said, hey, I like doing random gacha edits and stuff for editing scenes that I haven't written myself. It's like, well, that was perfect. Let's start this up again, but then also for the mutant girl. So yeah, there is that. I don't know, but Puppy Love got brought up. The last episode came out in 2021, actually, so around the same time as Alpha Witch Academy, which gets a boost in viewership every time, a boost in interactions and hype around it every time a new video comes out and people forget about it. Which, yeah, is like the exception to the stuff I said before. But Puppy Love, strangely enough, you know, even Maya, who when we watched Puppy Love together, was not the biggest fan of the difference between the way that apparently I write for gay couples versus how Aiden does it, despite the fact that I oversee all of Aiden's writing and also sometimes have been left to write scenes by myself featuring those couples because of the way that I write the romance around them. So yeah, I don't know. That was obviously information that was not made public to Maya until now, I guess. But yeah, it's like a mini competition with myself in that regard. I don't really know. Then again, of course, the characters in Puppy Love are literal children, so they are still working things out in terms of romance, so it's not exactly the most ideal of situations. But that's on purpose. So it's interesting. I guess I'm going to have to, you know, there's demand for that, so maybe if we actually get, you know, we get our collective stuff together and we actually manage to produce another season 3 episode of Mutant Girl, because that's the priority in terms of gacha right now, then by all means, maybe there's a new Puppy Love episode in the near future. I can't guarantee that, but I can hope. So yeah, ultimately, now I think about it, yeah, it's been an interesting sick week. There are days that I literally spent time testing out stuff in the Pixelmon server, or just wallowing in bed and did virtually nothing else. But there are other times that clearly I managed to actually return. Not to mention Pixel Month continues as per normal. Which, was it this week that we did the Cain? No, it was last week was Cain and Eden that came out before. I guess now I can go back to the more complicated edits and do another episode of that, so I can actually... So Shorty can actually have that debut, so another team up for Vows does not fail miserably, like Puppy Love did at the time. That's the dream anyway. Let's see if it comes true. But until then, please leave a like or dislike because your opinion matters, as I've done so already. And on that note, until next time, farewell.